Hi everyone, and welcome to the next lesson in our Django Fundamentals series, where we will learn how to register a new user. So we'll focus on user registration in this lesson. So let's get straight to it. So first of all, we just want to make sure we have a register.html template here. So we can see here we have it. That's great. Okay, so what we can do now is we can just go to our index.html, and we just want to add sort of like a link here that will send us to our register.html. Of course, we haven't configured any views or URLs yet for it, but we just want to sort of create like a blank canvas for it. So when we go to our, as we can see here, to our homepage here, we can just say register a user. Okay, so we'll do that. I'm just going to copy this here. Okay, and I'm going to just put some breakpoints in between, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to leave this URL, create the task. We will manipulate it later on. So here I'm just going to switch this out and say register a user. Okay, let's save that. Register a user, and if we go back, there we go. Okay, we can also just add some more space here. So I'm just going to add some more breakpoints to this. So okay, there we go. So it's separated. So register a user, of course, is going to send us to create task, but we will manipulate this later. So we just wanted a link there for now. Okay, great. So let's get on to the actual real details here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we need to go ahead to our to-do app and to forms.py, and we are going to create a register form, okay, with sort of Django's inbuilt or built-in, you could say, user creation form. Okay, so to do that, we need to import a few things. So we're going to go ahead and say from django.contrib.auth.forms import, and we're going to use Django's built-in user creation form. So user creation form, just like that. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to utilize a default model that Django provides us for our users. So that is a default user model. And we can see we created one called task here, but Django had the default one called user, which we will utilize now. We just need to call it. So we need to say from Django.contrib, okay, .auth.models, import user. Okay, so this is pretty much the same thing as this here. We're just importing a user now. Okay, great. Now, of course, we have a model form here to handle our tasks. Now we want to utilize and create, well, we're going to create a user creation form or user registration form here, utilizing Django's built-in user creation form. So a lot of this comes out of the box already for us. So we can just say class, and I'm going to call it create user form. Okay, you can call it anything you want. And we want to inherit, of course, Django's built-in user creation form. So we can say user creation form. And we are now going to say class meta, like we've always done. Then, like before, we need to specify these two properties here. So the model is going to be under user, because we're going to set the model here to user since we imported the model from Django here. And the fields here are not going to be all. We want to only choose specific fields. So to do that, we can remove this, and we can, of course, add our, we can say our square brackets here, and I'm just going to put in the following. So username, so our users will have to put in a username, an email, and a password. Now bear in mind, we need to say password 1 and password 2. Okay, and the reason being is password 1 will be the user that will be the password that the user chooses, and password 2 is simply a field for verifying password 1. So see it as this way. So we have 4 fields that a new user will fill in to register. So that first field will be username. So they'll add the username, their email, their password of choice, and then they're going to verify their password. Okay, so just bear that in mind. Okay, so that's it for our registration form. So this is create user form here, and that's that for this. Okay, next, I want us to go to our urls.py. So we're going to set our URL path here, and I'm just going to copy this here. So these comments, and here I'm going to say register a user. Okay, so we're going to put a unique URL path here. All right, so we're just going to say path, and we need to put in 3 parameters. First, the route, which I'm going to say register. Then the views, so I'm going to say views.register. Okay, this won't exist just yet. And then the third parameter will be name, and we're going to set it to register. Remember to add a comma at the end of your URL path. Okay, so this is our URL, all set and ready to go. Now let's head over to our view. So let's go to views.py. And before we can actually make use of our actual form, we need to import it into views.py like we did with task form. So we need to import create user form here. So to do that, we can either create a line here saying from forms import task form, but we don't want to write extra code for us and reinvent the wheel, so we can put a comma, and we're going to refer it to as create user form. So I can put that here, create user form, just like that. And now we've imported it successfully. Okay, now the interesting part. We want to go ahead and create our register view. So don't worry, I will take you through it step by step. So let's go ahead, and I just want to copy this comment here. All right, and I'm going to move it down a bit so we don't get confused with anything else. Let's move it down, and there, perfect. Okay, so this view that I'm going to create is for registering, or let's say creating a user. Oh, user. Okay, so let's get straight to it. So I'm going to call this function register. I need to pass in my request object for handling my views. And the same thing, I'm going to create a variable called form, and I'm going to assign it to create user form. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to reference my create user form here, which we created in forms.py. Okay, and we are just assigning it here as a variable here to form, so we can utilize it. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to see if we're actually getting a post request. So we will fix our form up in a minute. So we can say if request dot method as equal to post. Okay, then we want to say form equals create user form, and we want to submit a post request. So if we are saying in HTML, okay, I want to submit this form as a post request, then I am going to submit a post request based on all the data that has been entered on this form here. So if all the fields are submitted, I want you to send a post request to the database of this data. Okay, next line. We need to check if our form is actually valid. So if we have any errors with this form here or whatnot, okay, we can check that. So we can just say if form dot is underscore valid. Okay, we want to say form.save. So remember, like I keep telling you, so form.save is pretty much like sending a post request officially or creating our record here. So form.save is like the final push to the database. Okay, then what we can do is if a user was successfully registered, we can just submit a simple HTTP response. So we can see we've imported it here. So we can simply just under here say if it was a success, say return HTTP response, and in it I'm going to say user registration was actually let's say user registered. Yeah. I'm going to say the user was registered. Okay, so there we go. So the HTTP response will say the user was registered. All right, so there we go. So that is that. And the next thing that we need to do is we need to create a context dictionary to pass over this form here to our HTML template. So here I'm just going to say context, and I'm just going to say form as my key and form here. Okay, so this is our value. We're going to take in our create user form here, pass it through and submit a post request and save it when it's done. And if everything works out fine, we should see a blank page just showing the line the user was registered. Okay, so we need to, of course, set this up. So we need to say return render. So we want to render passing our request as first parameter, our register.html form. So we have it here, which we will modify in a moment. And then we need to set and assign our context dictionary here, because we are going to output our form into register.html. Okay, so since registering a user is using very similar logic to creating a task, we can simply just go ahead and copy this over here, since we're using the same logic, and go to register and just copy that in here. So in case you didn't follow in the previous lessons, you just need to go to register.html, create a template here. Where is it? You register. Create a form with the method post. This is optional, autocomplete off. Make sure you pass your CSRF token or this will fail and run a 403 error. You can say form.sp. So here's our form that we pass here, our key to our form here. And we of course have our submit button to submit this. Okay, so make sure you have the same HTML markup as me. Okay, so we have our views, our URL, and our form all ready. So let's double check everything. So it's good to double check our code. So let's do a rundown. So here, of course, we are creating a form here to allow our users to sign up or register. Pass it with the fields username, email, password 1 and password 2, and we use this by inheriting Django's built-in user creation form, and we are using the default model for a user in Django here that Django provides us. We're setting here. Then we went over to create a URL path, so we are going to go to register, the route register, and we are going to execute this view here on register. And this name here, register, is to help us redirect when we want to go to the register page, as you'll see in just a moment. Then we have our views here, all set and ready to go. Our register.html page here. So this is the form we'll submit. And that's that. So what we want to do now is go to index.html. And here by create task, we're going to put here register now. And the reason that we're able now to put register is because in our URLs, under the third parameter for name, we defined it as register. And this, we always need to add this third parameter as name whenever we are dealing with adding a specific, you could say, route to our URLs in HTML. So always remember that. So the third parameter here for name is important for setting URLs in our HTML templates here. So just bear that in mind. Okay, so that's that. Let's actually give this a test and let's see where it goes. I just want to double check. Let's go to our views, URLs. Oh, I just put a capital here. Let's make sure it's lowercase and check everything here because it is case sensitive. So lowercase r for register. That's good. Okay, everything's working good. Okay, let's go and check, refresh. And we have here, of course, our URL to register a user. Let's click on that. And there we go. So this is our registration page. Okay, it doesn't look so great, but it's okay at least. So we can see here we have our attributes here. So our fields, username, email address, password, and password confirmation. So if we refer to forms.py, you can clearly see our fields, username, email, password 1, and password 2. So remember, this is password 1 and this is password 2. So password 1 is setting your actual password. Password 2 from our forms.py is actually a password confirmation. So let's give this a try and test this out. So if this works, let's see where we will go. If this works, we're going to see a HTTP response that says the user was registered. So let's give this a try. So I'm going to say Arno2. So remember, make sure you don't use the same username as your that you use for your super user. It has to be different because all usernames in Django are unique. So assign another username. So here I'm going to say Arno2 because Arno is a super user in our case. email, I'm just going to make a random one called test@example.com. I'm going to set a password. Okay, so you can see here Django has some inbuilt validation. Okay, and you won't be able to submit this form if you do not meet these constraints here. So just bear that in mind. And then we need to confirm our password, make sure it's perfect, and we can go ahead and submit. So let's give this a try. And there we go. So the user was registered. So this was a success, everything worked, and our user was registered. So let's actually verify this and actually make sure. So remember, our user in this case was Arno2. So if we head over to our admin page, sign in was our super user, and we want to see if Arno2 is actually a user here. And there we go. So there's our user that we successfully created, Arno2. And it was pushed to our database. We can see the email, the user is active, and we can just see a little bit here about permissions, date, joining date, and just a little bit of cool stuff that Django automatically provides for us. Okay. So that's it. So that is how you would go about registering a user in Django. So I hope it made sense and that you liked it. And that's it.